Hello. In this video, I'll introduce our work, Localization and Manipulation of Immoral Visual Cues for Safe Text-to-Image Generation. Firstly, let me provide some background information on what we have been working on. Next, I will explain our method, which consists of three main modules. This approach is designed to achieve the objectives we set for our research, and we believe it has potential to contribute to the field. Finally, I will present the experimental results we obtained. As shown in the right figure, outcomes are promising, and we believe this work has implications for future research in this area. Currently, AI ethics are gaining increased attention and importance within the AI and CV communities. Among the 5 strands of AI ethics, we are primarily focusing on commonsense morality. This strand explores how AI systems can be developed to make ethical decisions based on human-like reasoning, in order to better align with societal values and expectations. Also, significant progress has been made in the production of high-resolution and high-quality images in text-to-image synthesis. There are various approaches and models available for text-to-image generation, and we have chosen to use the state-of-the-art image generation model, Stable Diffusion. By leveraging Stable Diffusion, we are able to generate high-quality images from textual descriptions with greater fidelity and realism. In recent years, there has been a growing effort to address ethical concerns in text-to-image generation. For example, the state-of-the-art image generation model, Stable Diffusion, incorporates a so-called safety checker to filter out inappropriate content from generated images. However, in our experiments, we found that the current version of Stable Diffusion with the safety checker module enabled often produces morally problematic images, as illustrated in the examples shown below. Therefore, we propose a novel approach to ethical image manipulation that aims to edit immorally generated images into morally acceptable ones. Let me provide an overview of our proposed approach. Our model comprises 3 key components. The first component is the visual commonsense immorality recognizer, which judges the immorality of a given image. The second component is the immoral attribute identifier, which localizes immoral attributes that make the input image visually immoral. The third component is the ethical image manipulator, which produces a moral image using 3 different image manipulation approaches. The visual commonsense immorality recognizer acts as a judge to determine the immorality of a given input image. However, training such a judge is challenging due to the lack of a large-scale, high-quality dataset for the visual commonsense immorality recognition task. To address this challenge, we utilize a pre-trained image text joint embedding space called CLIP. Using this joint embedding space, we first train an auxiliary text-based immorality classifier with the large-scale ethics dataset, which provides over 13,000 textual examples and corresponding binary labels. Then, the immorality of an unseen image is recognized through the joint embedder and the trained immorality classifier in a zero-shot manner. Next, our model is designed to locate semantic immoral attributes that make an image visually immoral. Since our model is based on a text-to-image generator, we first identify word-level immorality by masking approach to manipulate the generated immoral images into being visually moral, while retaining other visual contexts. To accomplish this, we use an input sampling approach that measures the importance of a word by masking it and observing its effect on the model's immorality score decision. In addition to textual immoral attribute identification, we extend this approach to identify visual immoral attributes to localize which visual attributes contribute to making the image visually immoral. To do this, we employ a randomized input sampling approach that can measure the importance of an image region by masking it and observing its effect on the model's decision. As a result, we obtain both textual and visual immorality score maps for both the prompt and generated image. Lastly, we introduce various image manipulation approaches to produce a moral image by automatically replacing immoral semantic cues. Here, we explore 4 kinds of image manipulation approaches: blurring immoral visual semantic attributes, immoral object replacement by moral image inpainting, text-driven image manipulation with moral words, and text-driven image manipulation with moral image captions. Firstly, an intuitive and simple way to make a given image morally acceptable is to blur any immoral visual contents using standard blur kernel functions, such as the Gaussian kernel. To do this, we start by computing normalized per pixel visual immorality scores. Then, we divide the image into moral and immoral regions based on a user-specified threshold. We apply the blur kernel function only to the pixels in the immoral regions, effectively blurring the immoral visual contents. Second, we apply an image inpainting approach to remove immoral objects and replace them with moral ones. Image inpainting models are often used to restore missing regions in an image while preserving coherence with the existing content. Using the visual immorality score map, we remove the immoral regions by setting their pixel values to 0, and then we apply an off-the-shelf image inpainting approach. Thirdly, our model searches for alternative morally acceptable words to guide the generation process and produce a more ethical image. For example, if the word gun is identified as an immoral cue in the text, our model selects alternative words such as pistol, sword, and water as conditions for generating a more moral image. Our model selects the best image as the final output by comparing the immorality scores of the generated images using these alternative words. In our experiment, we use Google's suggested search results, which reflect real searches that have been done on Google related to the query. Moreover, immoral suggested queries are filtered out due to Google Search's policy to prevent harassing, hateful, sexually explicit, and immoral content. Finally, we use a captioning model that is trained on a highly curated dataset to generate a description of an immoral image from a moral perspective. As shown in the right figure, we observe that a captioning model trained on the MS Coco dataset generates the caption "a man wearing a helmet and holding a camera" for a scene in which people are shooting guns at each other. Using this morally described caption as a condition for the text-driven image manipulation model, we obtain a morally manipulated scene that is very similar to the original scene. As a final step, let me explain the implementation details and results of our experiments. Our visual commonsense immorality recognizer utilizes textual and image encoders based on CLIP, which learn a visual textual joint representation using contrastive learning. To classify immorality based on textual inputs, we use an MLP to build our immorality classifier, following previous research in this area. We train our model on the ethics commonsense morality dataset, transferring knowledge from text to visual data by utilizing a joint embedding space. This is the result of our model's immoral attribute identification. As shown in the bottom row, our model accurately identifies immoral objects, including cigarettes, blood, and a gun. Additionally, the model highlights certain words that prompt the text-driven image generator to produce immoral scenes, indicated in green in the prompt. We provide examples of images generated by Stable Diffusion, along with accompanying immorality score maps in the second column. We also demonstrate how we degrade the immorality of images by blurring immoral visual semantic attributes in the third column and manipulate the image by replacing immoral objects with morally acceptable image inpainting techniques in the fourth column. Especially, our inpainting approach successfully replaces immoral visual attributes with moral contents, such as bleeding blood on the face being replaced by a smiling face. Next, these are the images generated by our model using the moral word and moral caption methods. As with the previous results, the initially generated images are displayed in the first column, while the second column contains alternative words and morally generated captions. The third and fourth columns display ethically generated images. Our alternative word method can be used to manipulate immoral images and make them more moral, as demonstrated in the two right-hand columns. We can reduce the immorality of images by pairing the original prompt with a different word, such as water gun in the case of a child with a gun, resulting in more morally acceptable images. As an example of the moral caption method, an image with the caption "I shot my gun into the crowd" is described as a man in a black shirt is holding a black dog. By using these generated captions as a condition, we can successfully manipulate the images to create a moral scene. We also conduct a human study to demonstrate whether our generated images are indeed morally manipulated. We recruited 178 human evaluators and asked them to judge the immorality of each generated image on a Likert scale from not immoral to extremely immoral. As shown in the figure below, our manipulation approaches significantly reduces immorality. We also experiment with our visual commonsense immorality recognizer to compute immorality scores for each image. We observe trends similar to our human evaluation, and this further confirms that our visual commonsense immorality recognizer matches human perception. In summary, we propose a novel approach to ensure visual commonsense morality for text-to-image generation. We presented 3 essential modules: judging visual commonsense immorality, localizing input-level immoral attributes, and producing morally satisfying manipulation images. Our human study and detailed analysis demonstrate the effectiveness of our proposed ethical image manipulation model. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you for watching.